Now, for thousands of immigrants into the United States of America and many more who are hopeful of coming into the United States, the reality of Donald Trump in the White House has started to kick in. As various U.S. authorities undertake Trump's largest deportation ever project, many are facing a very uncertain future, and the country is divided over how the Trump administration is treating the immigrants in the United States. Our next report gets more details.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Donald Trump's promises from the election campaign are beginning to become a reality. Agencies are implementing sweeping changes to immigration policies and carrying out deportations. Videos released by the Defense Department show alleged illegal immigrants, chained and handcuffed, being boarded onto a military aircraft. Simultaneously, officials from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or the ICE, and other departments are scouring the streets across the country, hunting down so-called illegal aliens and sending them back. On January 26 alone, authorities arrested over 950 people. The very next day, ICE arrested more than 1,100 immigrants. But not all of them entered the U.S. illegally. Many migrants and their families are living in the country legally.
They just told me they took your dad. I was like, what? I didn't think it was true. I was not trying to believe it. I was just telling you're joking, right? It's not a joke. They actually came and took my dad. He doesn't deserve to go through this at all.
Across the border in Mexico, authorities are bracing for an influx of people, most of whom are Mexicans, but many hail from other countries. All this while further appointments for legal entry to the U.S. stand cancelled. Thousands from Venezuela and Haiti who escaped political uncertainty and violence are temporarily seeking refuge in Mexico. They now have nowhere to go. So far, Mexico says they have already received over 4,000 immigrants. The country is busy preparing camps and infrastructure along border towns for thousands more expected to arrive in the coming months. To carry out what Trump has called the largest deportation in American history, the U.S. president now aims to increase funding for departments that are responsible for exercising his will.
In the coming weeks, I'm looking forward to working with Congress on a reconciliation bill that financially takes care of our plans to totally and permanently restore the sovereign borders of the United States once and for all. This should include full funding for a record increase in border security personnel and retention bonuses for ICE and Border Patrol. These people are incredible people. I got to know them so well.
Donald Trump's plan is expected to impact over 11 million immigrants. The cost of this deportation project is estimated to run into billions. Putting finances aside, public discourse has been divided over the humanitarian cost of crackdown on immigrants. While critics argue that the American economy is built on the back of these very people now being threatened with arrests and deportation, Trump supporters say that the issue is not of immigration, but of it happening illegally.
All right, now to tell us more as to what is happening in the United States of America, we're joined on this broadcast by Ms. Joanna LeBlanc, who is a political analyst and also a national security law analyst. and she's joining us live in this broadcast. Ms. LeBlanc, this of course is an issue that has divided the United States of America right down the middle. This is the issue that Donald Trump had made his main issue for his campaign. And this is what he said as well in a recent address, where he said, the issue of immigration is the #1 priority. The issue of economy and inflation, these other things do not take precedence as immigration does. Now, the United States of America is a nation that was built by immigrants, but immigrants, it appears, are no longer welcome in Trump's America. What is your reading on how far Donald Trump is willing to go on this agenda of his?
Well, first and foremost, I think we can all agree that immigration, irregular immigration into this country has been a problem. And even the immigration process entering into the United States lawfully has also been a problem, because the amount of time that it takes for people to go through the process. I mean, the courts are behind on some of these cases. And I think it's important for us to understand that what is happening under Trump currently is really not that much different from what was happening under Joe Biden or under former President Barack Obama. There were a number of deportations, a great deal of deportations under Biden. I think the difference is that between Trump and Biden is the messaging, right? And maybe because Mr. Trump has to maintain his campaign promise. He won a great deal because of those issues. So I think a lot of it is messaging. But when it comes to actually removing people from this country, there is a process, right? And I don't think our courts are ready, nor do the courts have sufficient resources or sufficient staff to ensure that all of those folks receive proper due process. But one of the first things that he did day one was he canceled the CBP-1 program, which is the app that migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border would use to apply to ask the United States for asylum.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned what he's doing is not very different from what Joe Biden did and what Barack Obama did earlier. It's just the rhetoric and the messaging which is different. But a lot of people, in fact, turn around and say that probably Donald Trump is making it harder even for legal documented migrants to now make their way into the United States of America, and making it harder for a lot of people, you know, who perhaps have the eligibility and the criteria to get U.S. citizenship. There is a concerted effort to not let people from outside the United States of America to get into the United States of America. Is that not a sense that you're getting?
I think that part of Mr. Trump's tactic, and it has worked really well, is to instill some kind of fear in people who wish to come to the border or who wish to enter the United States illegally, and also those who are currently in the United States illegally, to still instill the fear to the point where they self-deport, so that the United States government does not have to spend its resources. So I think that is part of it. But Mr. Trump has only been in office for less than 2 weeks. I think a lot of his executive orders are more about messaging than actually implementation, because many of it will be incredibly difficult to actually implement. But messaging is very important for Mr. Trump and his allies. So we have to look at what is actually messaging and what is actually happening on the ground. And I think we will have more information within his first 100 days.
Indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Johanna LeBlanc, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.